Over the last couple of months, I've been researching recovery protocols in relation to sleep in adults over 40, getting ready for the workshop we just hosted here at Peak City Gym. And one of the things that is driving me crazy, and I've seen over the last decade of working with adults, is they're all making this one common mistake. It's not that people aren't sleeping enough, or they're not stretching or doing mobility, or they're not even training hard enough in the gym. Most commonly, they're trying to recover like they did when they were 25. And ultimately, things change with age. So we have to change our protocol as well. My name is Keegan Hanks. Welcome to Peak City Gym. We're the premier fitness over 40 facility here in Apex, North Carolina. We've been helping people over the last 5 years build muscle, lose weight, and feel more confident with their injuries. If you're in the Apex area, make sure you stop by and check us out. We'd love to have a conversation with you and show you around our facility. So in today's video, we're going to discuss exactly what changes after 40, the things you should not be doing, and why it matters. None of this is theory. I've been training in this industry for 10 years. This is all practical advice that has been researched and supported by some of the leading experts in our industry. Experts like Dr. Brad Schoenfeld, Dr. Peter Attia, and Dr. Gabrielle Leone. This is advice tailored specifically for adults over 40, so make sure you stick around. So I'm sure you figured it out by now, but here it is. The biggest mistake adults over 40 make when trying to build muscle and lose weight in the gym is they're trying to recover like they're 25. Things just fundamentally shift and change with age, and we have to make those changes. Think about it this way. I'm sure you can see the difference. When you were 25, you could have worked out, had a pretty decent meal, slept pretty terribly, and then gotten up the next day and trained hard again, repeating this cycle over and over and over without any issues. But now you're 40, you work out, and you're probably sore for 2, maybe 3 days, and it takes a lot more effort for you to be fresh and recovered for your next workout. Dr. Brad Schoenfeld at Lehman College showed that adults over 40 typically take 48 to 240 hours to fully recover from intense exercise. First, 25-year-olds or people of that age typically only take about 24 to 48 hours to fully recover. That is a very large discrepancy. The more fit and well-trained you are, typically you'll see closer to those 48 hours. That's not just a little longer, that's a completely different time frame. But here's what gets interesting. It's not that you're broken, it's just different biological processes as we age. Typically speaking, Dr. Stuart Phillips at McMaster University showed that adults over the age of 40 can actually build muscle at a similar efficiency of younger adults. But we need to adjust our approach. And adjusting is the key word here. The mistake isn't aging itself, it's treating your 40-year-old body like you were 25 and not adjusting your schedule appropriately. So what's actually happening in our body after 40 that changes our recovery so drastically? Let me break down the 3 main physiological differences that are going to occur within our body. First up is our anabolic resistance. Dr. Gabrielle Leone talks about this significantly on her content. Basically, your muscle protein synthesis becomes blunted both from food consumption and from exercise. Research has shown that adults have about a 16% reduction in muscle protein synthesis compared to when you were younger. What this means practically is you'll need more protein and more time in between training sessions to fully recover and have the same muscle building effects. Dr. Phillips' research showed that we need about 0.4 grams per kilo of body weight. Typically, that will be about 30 to 40 grams per meal. Compare that to someone younger who only needs about 0.25 grams per kilo. Second up, elevated inflammatory response. This one's huge. Dr. Peter Attia frequently discusses how our inflammatory response changes and how it takes longer for us to come back to neutral with age. What used to be beneficial acute inflammation, we do need inflammation to build muscle, is now becoming low-grade chronic inflammation that we need to actually address. A study in the European Journal of Applied Physiology found that inflammatory markers showed elevated signs 48 to 96 hours after exercise compared to 24 to 48 for younger adults. If you're training again or chronically in that highly inflamed state, then you're going to have that chronic inflammation and see the detrimental effects of it. Third, and that's going to be your hormonal changes. I'm sure you're well aware that hormones are naturally going to decline with age. It's something that I've talked about a lot on this channel. This isn't just about testosterone or estrogen. We also have growth hormone that's going to see a decline, and cortisol hormone is going to have a slightly different response. Dr. Attia's work shows that cortisol, our primary stress hormone, takes longer to return to our baseline after intense exercise. If you're constantly stacking workout stress with life stress, you're going to have this chronically elevated cortisol, creating a perfect storm for poor recovery. Okay, so now that we understand why our recovery tends to slow down as we age, let's talk about some practical ways that you can actually start to implement some changes into your recovery protocols. Strategy 1 is probably not the most fun, but that's going to be extending your recovery windows, which means taking a little bit longer in between workouts so that you can fully recover and get back to a baseline. I always like to point out our stress recovery cycle, where we want to be nice and level. We see a small dip when we see stress, like a workout or anything in life. We need some time to recover, get better than we were previously, again, have another stress, dip down, and recover again. Based on Brad Schoenfeld, we should allocate at least 48 to 72 hours in between training sessions for adults over 40 to appropriately recover. With our full body training protocols here at Peak City Gym, you typically want at least 48 hours between one workout and the next. The research from Dr. Schoenfeld showed that this actually produced greater results, bigger muscle gains, and better quality weight loss when doing this approach. Strategy number 2 is strategic protein timing. Dr. Gabrielle Leon suggests having 30 to 40 grams of protein per meal, ensuring that you take at least 3 grams of leucine within that meal. Her advice says you should have 3 to 4 of these high protein meals, 30 to 40 grams, with special emphasis around your workout, having a little bit more protein pre-workout and a little bit more protein post-workout. Now we understand that muscle protein synthesis can stay elevated for up to 24 hours post-workout. So we want to make sure that we have adequate protein for up to 24 hours post-workout. Strategy 3 is recovery-focused sleep architecture. Dr. Peter Attia talks about this constantly. Having better quality sleep leads to greater recovery in adults over 40 than previously thought. Sleep becomes exponentially more important for recovery after 40. But it's definitely not just about duration, it's also important to have good quality sleep. Adults over 40 consistently see less deep sleep and less REM sleep than their younger counterparts. These are the stages most critical for recovery and feeling refreshed the next day. Strategy number 4 is stress load management. This is what I like to talk about with a lot of my clients when it comes to strategy sessions. We need to manage our allostatic load. That's essentially the stress that you're accumulating throughout the course of your entire day. So that could be work stress, life stress, family stress, food stress, like if you're dieting or eating really bad quality food, and definitely exercise stress. Adding all of these up can sometimes be too much stress for someone to handle, decreasing their ability to recover and again putting them back into this chronic state of stress. After about 40, our ability to manage stress tends to decline. The key is managing all of our different sources of stress or having better processes to recover from that. Here's a practical application. On high life stress weeks, tend to decrease and pull back on your training intensity. When you have less stress in the course of your life, that's when you can start to push more in the gym. Another strategy that we talked about in our recent workshop here at Peak City Gym, Sleep and Stress, we talked a lot about mindfulness and training our brain and training our body to be able to recover from stress more efficiently. Mindfulness is a really great tool for us to manage stress more appropriately and to feel more confident with getting out of our own head and getting more into that parasympathetic state. The beautiful thing about focusing on recovery is that you're actually going to see better results in the gym. You may not need to work out more or to lift more weights, but recovering more efficiently can give you greater results in the gym. Basically, the bottom line is your body after 40 isn't broken. It's just different, and we need to adjust our schedules, we need to adjust our expectations so that we can more readily work with a physiology. Instead of fighting against the changes in our body after 40, we need to work within that schedule so that you can build more muscle, stay injury-free, and lose the weight that you're trying to lose. I'd love to know if this has completely changed your thought on recovery in the comments down below. Make sure you hit that like button and subscribe to Peak City Gym. It really helps us out and make sure that we're doing content that people actually care about. And last but not least, remember that you're not too old. We just need to use a different playbook for you to achieve the results that you want to achieve. Until next time.